Academy, where brains go to broadcast.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to help you, make sense of the absolute flood of information out there today.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It really is. I mean, this information age, right? We're just bombarded constantly. Articles, social media feeds, news clips, reports.
It's overwhelming.
Totally. It feels less like a stream sometimes and more like, I don't know, a fire hose. So the big question is, how do we actually manage that?
Mm-hmm.
How do we cut through all that noise to find what's genuinely useful, what's credible, stuff that actually helps us understand the world instead of just adding to the confusion?
And that's exactly what we want to dig into in this deep dive. That's the mission.
Okay.
We want to equip you with some really practical strategies, tools for finding, evaluating, properly evaluating, and then actually using the information you come across.
Right.
Think of it like building a core skill,
Yeah.
turning that feeling of being overloaded into, informed understanding.
Which sounds much better.
Definitely. And this isn't just for, writing an academic paper or something.
No, it's for everyday life.
Exactly. It's about making better decisions, getting a deeper handle on complex issues.
Yeah.
Basically, learning how to learn effectively when everything's so noisy. It's a life skill, really.
Yeah.
Foundational stuff.
I couldn't agree more. And I think the very first step in cutting through that noise is realizing that, not all information is the same, is it?
Not at all.
There's a basic difference in where it comes from and how it gets to us. So let's maybe unpack that fundamental distinction first, primary versus secondary sources.
Good starting point. So primary sources, when we talk about those, we mean materials that give you, firsthand evidence.
Okay, direct evidence.
Direct evidence, direct access almost to whatever you're studying. Think about researching World War II.
Right.
A soldier's actual letters home from the battlefield. That's primary. Or maybe original maps drawn up by the commanders at the time.
Got it. Created then by people there.
Precisely. Or for local history, maybe original property deeds or town meeting minutes stored in an archive. Those are primary. Even if you do your own investigation, like conducting interviews or running a survey or making direct observations, the data you collect is primary.
Ah, okay.
Hmm.
Because you generated it directly.
You did. Now, here's a really crucial point people sometimes miss. Direct access, or firsthand, doesn't automatically mean it's, objective or totally unbiased.
Right. That soldier's letter is going to be personal, emotional, maybe.
Exactly. It's one perspective. So critical thinking, looking for multiple primary sources, comparing them, that's still absolutely vital to get a balanced view.
Okay, so primary is that raw, direct window.
Yeah.
What about secondary sources then? How are they different? Why does that matter so much when we're scrolling through feeds or reading the news?
Well, secondary sources are the ones that describe, discuss, or analyze the primary sources, or sometimes even other secondary sources.
So they're like a step removed.
At least one step removed, yeah. They're interpreting or commenting on the original event or data.
Yeah.
So back to the World War II example. A historian's book about the war, using those letters and maps as evidence. That's secondary. Or maybe a government report analyzing the war's economic impact later on.
Right. That's interpretation.
It is. And what's really interesting is that almost everything we encounter, day-to-day news articles, magazine pieces, blog posts, even a lot of social media commentary, it's actually secondary.
Even if it feels immediate.
Even then, someone is always filtering that information, selecting parts of it, interpreting it, maybe arguing a point based on it. Realizing that is like your first line of defense against just absorbing everything uncritically.
Okay, this next bit always makes me stop and think. It seems tricky, but can one single source actually be both primary and secondary? Depending on how you look at it.
It absolutely can. And this is where things get nuanced and where your purpose, your research question really matters.
Okay, how so?
Right, so the classification often hinges entirely on what you're trying to find out.
Yeah.
Let's take an example. Imagine you're studying a specific group or culture, and you're looking at texts they produced. Maybe their internal newsletters, their manifestos, their literature. For that study, where you want to understand their culture or beliefs from their own materials.
Those texts are primary evidence.
Undeniably primary. They're direct evidence of that group's perspective.
Yeah.
But let's say that same text also contains an analysis of some external event, maybe their opinion on a political situation.
Yeah, okay.
If your research project is focused specifically on their analysis of that external event rather than on the text as a reflection of their internal culture.
Then for my project, it's functioning as a secondary source about that external event.
Exactly, you're using their interpretation. Recognizing this flexibility helps us see how our own understanding is shaped by the types of sources we lean on, and crucially, how we decide to use them. It's all about perspective.
That's a really powerful point. It shows how layered this all is. Okay,
Right.
shifting gears slightly, thinking about finding sources. I mean, I definitely remember when research meant one thing, going to the library,
Oh yeah, the card catalog.
the card catalog, microfiche, that slightly dusty smell. Does that physical library experience still hold the same kind of, I don't know, magic? Or has digital just taken over?
You're hitting on a big shift. Libraries were, and still are, amazing institutions. And for ages, print was king. And often for good reason, reliability, permanence.
Sure.
But then the internet just exploded, didn't it? And now ignoring online information is just, well, it's not really an option for serious research anymore.
Impractical.
Completely. Most people probably start online now just because it's so easy.
So where does that leave us today? Is it print versus digital? Or is it more complicated than that?
It's definitely more complicated. It's not about picking sides. The smart approach is understanding that both print and electronic sources have unique strengths, but also weaknesses.
Okay.
Neither one is inherently good or bad. It all depends on your specific needs and, importantly, how critically you evaluate them.
Right. So what are some of those strengths for print?
Well, print sources, especially academic ones like books and journals,
Yeah.
usually go through a pretty tough review process before they even get published.
Editors, peer reviewers.
Exactly. Faculty recommendations for library purchases, too. That whole system generally makes them quite reliable. Plus, for certain kinds of research, especially historical stuff, print is indispensable.
Like looking at old manuscripts.
Precisely. If you need to examine original Shakespeare folios at, say, the Folger Library, you need the physical object. There's no substitute.
Makes sense. But then digital offers that incredible speed and reach, right?
Absolutely. Electronic sources give you unparalleled access to the most current information. For some fast-moving topics, the internet is really the only place to start.
Like tracking legislation or online movements.
Perfect examples. Their own websites are often the primary source. And many academic journals now have really robust online versions, often using the same peer review standards as print. So the main takeaway here is, both print and electronic can be reliable or unreliable. Both can be appropriate or inappropriate for your specific task. Your job as a researcher, as someone trying to understand something, is to learn how to choose wisely and to evaluate carefully.
Be discerning, not dismissive. I like that.
Exactly.
Okay, let's get super practical then. We understand the types, print versus digital.
Yeah.
How do we actually find this stuff? Let's start with the place maybe some people overlook now, the physical library, the brick and mortar building.
Right. The physical library is still this incredible treasure trove. Way more than just books.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You've got specialized encyclopedias, dictionaries, academic journals, obviously, but also popular magazines, newspapers, government documents, music, films, often unique special collections.
Like local history stuff.
Often, yeah. Ancient manuscripts sometimes, local archives. It's a curated collection. But you know what the best resource in that building often is?
Let me guess. The librarian.
Bingo. The reference librarian. Seriously, don't overlook them. They are experts in information retrieval. They want to help you, and it's literally their job to answer your questions.
They're like research superheroes hiding in plain sight.
Pretty much. Don't hesitate to ask them anything, big or small.
Good tip. Any advice for just getting comfortable with the physical space itself?
Sure, if they offer tours, take one. Or just wander around yourself. Browse the different sections, see where things are shelved, get a feel for the layout. The more familiar you are, the easier it is to use effectively. But honestly, the deepest understanding comes from actually using the library for a real project you care about. That's when it really clicks.
Okay, solid advice. Now, let's talk about the other side of the coin, the cyber library. That online portal almost every university or college library has now. How does that fit in?
The cyber library.
Right.
That's your gateway to, frankly, way more stuff than could ever fit in the physical building.
Right.
And here's the killer advantage it has over just using, say, Google or DuckDuckGo: access to subscription-based resources.
Stuff you normally have to pay for.
Exactly. Specialized databases, full-text academic journals, e-books, things the library subscribes to for its users. These are usually well-organized, categorized, and generally much more reliable because they've been vetted.
Okay, so what kind of things would I typically find there?
You'll usually find the main library catalog online, of course, A tool defines specific journals or periodicals. And then the really powerful stuff, research databases. These can contain millions of articles, documents, reports. Wow. Plus, libraries often create specific research guides for different subjects, pointing you to the best databases and online resources. And sometimes there's a meta-search function that searches across many databases at once.
That sounds incredibly useful, especially the databases. Can you give an example of how using those tools helps narrow things down compared to a general web search?
Sure. Let's say you're researching stem cells. You go into a big academic database, maybe something like Research Navigator or Academic Search Premier,
Yeah.
and you just type in stem cell research.
You'd get thousands of hits, probably.
Easily. Way too much to sift through. It's overwhelming. But these databases have advanced search options. So you can refine your search. Maybe you're interested in a specific ethical angle.
Okay.
You could search for stem cell research and the Catholic Church. Suddenly, instead of thousands of results, you might get, say, 5 or 10 really focused articles.
Ah, okay. Much more manageable.
Much more. It shows the power of using specific keywords and the features built into these library databases to zero in on what's truly relevant to your question.
Okay, so we've found potential sources. We know if they're primary or secondary, print or digital. We've used the library, physical or cyber. But how do we know if they're actually good? Good for our project, reliable.
Right. This is the critical evaluation step, and it differs slightly depending on where you found the source.
How so?
Well, for materials you find through the library, especially academic journals or books from reputable publishers.
The ones that went through that review process you mentioned.
Exactly. For those, outright reliability is usually less of a concern. They've generally been vetted. Your main job there is evaluating suitability and relevance.
Suitability meaning?
Meaning, is this information actually appropriate for your specific research goal? Will it help you answer your questions?
Can you give an example where something reliable might not be suitable?
Sure. Let's say you're researching the link between certain antidepressants and suicidal thoughts in teenagers.
Okay, a serious topic.
Definitely. You could easily find reliable scientific reports in a library database studies with statistics, dosage info, very factual,
Reliable data.
absolutely reliable. But if your specific goal is to understand what it actually feels like for a teenager going through that, what their lived experience is.
Those statistical reports might not give you that personal insight.
Exactly. They're reliable for what they are, but maybe not suitable for that particular goal.
Yeah.
You might need different kinds of sources, maybe interviews, personal essays, memoirs, to get that perspective.
Got it. So suitability involves things like,
Thinking about the scope. Is it a broad overview or super specialized? Considering the intended audience, is it written for experts or a general reader? Does that match your needs? And checking the timeliness. Is it the most current info? Or do you actually need older material for historical context?
that makes a lot of sense for library stuff. But what about the wider internet? You called it the Wild West earlier. How do we evaluate sources we just find out there?
Yeah, that's where it gets trickier. The internet is incredibly open, which is great in many ways, but means anyone can publish anything. There's no universal quality control.
And people often just accept what they see online, right, if it looks professional.
They do, far too often. So this puts extra responsibility on you, the researcher, the information consumer. You absolutely have to engage your critical thinking skills. Treat websites almost like you're doing rhetorical analysis.
Okay, so what kind of questions should we be asking?
Several key things. First, who created this? Who's the author? Who's the publisher or sponsoring organization?
And what are their potential biases or agendas?
Crucial question. What are their known goals? I mean, think about the difference between, say, a university professor's personal research site versus Nike.com.
One's academic, one's selling shoes.
Right. Nike's goal is sales. You wouldn't expect an unbiased review of competing brands there. That doesn't mean the information is wrong, necessarily,
Yeah.
but you have to understand the purpose.
And those little tags at the end of the URL, like .com or .org, they give clues too, don't they?
They give huge clues. They signal the likely intent. .com usually means commercial. Could be sales, could be corporate communication, maybe a campaign site. Needs careful judgment.
Okay.
.org typically means a nonprofit organization, but nonprofit doesn't mean neutral.
Right. They often have a cause or a specific viewpoint.
Exactly. Think tanks, advocacy groups. A conservative foundation versus a progressive policy center both use .org. Both have clear agendas. Their content is essentially an argument for their position, not unbiased fact.
Yeah.
You need to see it that way.
Got it. What about others?
.edu is usually educational institutions, universities, colleges. generally academic, reliable sources there. But watch out for individual student or faculty pages, which might be personal opinion. And some think tanks actually use .edu too.
Tricky.
Then you have .gov for government sites, legislation, data, reports, and .mil for military. Plus country codes like .uk or .et. Understanding these helps you frame what you're looking at before you even dive into the content.
So knowing the author, the publisher, the likely intent. What else?
Think about the purpose of the site explicitly. What is it trying to do? Inform, persuade, sell, entertain. Who is the intended target audience? And critically, how do the style and design work?
How does the look of the site matter?
Well, web writing is often argumentative, right? People use design layout, images, tone of voice to build credibility, what rhetoricians call ethos. A slick professional design can make something seem reliable.
But it doesn't guarantee it is.
Not at all. A fancy look doesn't automatically equal trustworthy content. You still need to dig into the substance, check the evidence, compare it with other sources. It always comes back to critical evaluation.
Okay, so we've covered a lot today. Primary, secondary, print, digital, finding sources, evaluating them. What's the big takeaway for someone listening, whether they're starting a huge research project or just trying to make sense of the daily news?
I think the main thing is this. Research, in the broadest sense, isn't just about finding stuff that other people have already said and repeating it.
It's not just collecting quotes.
No. It's about using those reliable sources, those first-hand accounts, those carefully analyzed arguments, those vetted databases, using them as solid foundations.
Okay, foundations for what?
Foundations upon which you can build your own understanding, formulate your own perspective, maybe even develop your own new ideas or theories about the topic. It should be an active process, a creative one even.
So questioning is key, even questioning the experts. Absolutely. Embrace critical questioning, even with sources that seem authoritative. That questioning, that digging deeper, that is how you arrive at real meaningful knowledge. That's how you truly master this information landscape, rather than just being swept along by it.
A powerful message. So as you go out there, ready to navigate that information ocean with these tools, maybe the question to leave you with is this. What new understanding, what fresh perspective will you create by critically engaging with everything that's at your fingertips? Until next time, keep diving deep.
Cascade me where brains go to broadcast. Cascade me, knowledge speaks, tuition sleeps.